Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hot Seat with Cognizant Clay. I am your host, Clayton Terrio. Today on the show, we have Jack McCormick. He works in the Human Resources Department at Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital. He is diagnosed with congenital Leber amaurosis, which causes severe blindness. His main focuses are inclusion and accessibility, and he's even a vice chair at the CNIB. Hope you enjoy it.
Cool.
I'm sure you're used to the AI voices.
Oh yeah.
Well, first of all, man, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So just to start off, how are you doing through all the quarantine for COVID-19?
It's been quite interesting for me. I work in a hospital in the human resources department, so my job seems to be changing every other day. And some days I'm working from my apartment, and other days I'm going into work. And just being in a hospital is kind of strange right now. So yeah, it's been an experience.
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's my mom's the one who recommended you, and she says it's just so different. Like it's so, but basically a ghost town.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Um,
very.
yeah, it's definitely different. So I apologize if the pronunciation is off here, but you are diagnosed with Leber Congenital Amaurosis.
You got the pronunciation perfect.
Oh wow, there you go. So, and that causes severe vision loss. Can you tell me a little bit just about the challenges you face due to your disability?
Sure. So I've had low vision through my entire life. Leber's congenital amaurosis, or LCA, is something that you're born with. But I was originally told that I had what was called a cone rod dystrophy, and told that my vision would be stable. But as I've aged, it's gotten worse. So challenges with getting used to changing vision has definitely been a big part. And I also think there's just, as I'm sure you can relate to, um, myself as someone who has a disability, I think one of the biggest challenges is with society's perception of my ability as someone who has vision loss or who has a disability. Um, it's, very challenging for people with disabilities to find jobs and fully participate in society because so often accessibility isn't considered. So that's definitely been a very significant challenge for me. Day to day, I am, able to live a pretty normal life. I, live on my own. I have a job. I'm able to walk around, but there's some additional challenges associated with having very low vision. I personally use a guide dog to help get me around, and I have to rely on the bus system, which here in Oakville kind of sucks. So it'd be nice if I could drive and get places a lot quicker, but it's just kind of an inconvenience I have to deal with.
Yeah, Oakville Transit is a little shoddy at times,
Yes.
to say the least. How do you overcome these challenges? And I'm very curious, what kind of assistive devices do you use?
So I'll answer the assistive devices question first. I use, a standard regular laptop, and I have a software on my computer that allows me to hear what is on the screen and interact with the computer screen by completely listening to it. I'm fortunate. I also use an iPhone, and iPhones are really great because they have that accessibility technology built right in. You don't have to pay anything extra for the technology, and it just works. So when I touch something on the screen, it reads what's under my finger. And then an iPhone has so many different apps that can really help with accessibility. So I've got an app that, I can take a picture of something and it'll describe it to me, or I can scan a barcode on a, can or a box of food so I know what kind of food I'm going to open up. Um, I got an app that allows me to know where I am. So as I'm walking, it tells me which streets I'm crossing and what buildings are near me and my approximate address to help prevent me from getting lost and help me find new places. And then one app I've actually recently started using that's really handy is it's called Be My Eyes. And so I open up this app and essentially start a one-way video chat with a random volunteer somewhere in the world. And I can get the person to help me with any kind of visual task. So the thing that I use this particular app most frequently for is if I'm going to like a new place, or don't exactly know which door in, say, like a strip mall I need to go into, like, go to a Starbucks, or pick up a pizza, or whatever I'm trying to go and do. I can open up this app and point my phone at the building and be like, hey, am I standing in front of the right door for Starbucks? And the person can help me find where I need to go from there. So that's huge piece of technology that really helps me. What was the first half of the question?
First path is, how do you overcome the challenges that you're faced with?
Okay. I think for me, attitude's a really big thing. I've learned that, as I said, one of the biggest challenges with my disability is, I believe, people's perception of the of my ability. And so I try to approach everything I do with as much confidence as possible, so that people are willing to give me an opportunity to show them how much I can do. And I find having that sort of positive attitude and bringing a lot of confidence to what I do really helps me. I think, yes, there are people in the world who aren't going to give me a chance, aren't going to want to interact with me, aren't going to treat me well because I have very low vision. And, I have to accept that and, move on. And, another big thing is that, as I'm sure you're aware, most of the world is not designed for people who have disabilities. So, a big thing for me is websites are not always designed with accessibility in mind. So the software I use can't always interact with it properly. And so just kind of accepting that. And sometimes, in situations like that, I do have to ask the people in my life for a little bit of help so that I can do the things that I need to do.
Of course, and yeah, I'm very aware of that. It's definitely getting better as time goes on, but I find there's still so many areas that need improvement. Like the main ones are, I think, big cities, because a lot of big cities are very old and they're designed for the subway system, and there's a lot of stairs. Even in Toronto, I find
Yeah,
it's so hard to get around because it's such an old city that, and unfortunately our laws are only designed for new buildings.
yeah,
There's no law that says, oh, if a building's 100 years old, it needs a ramp. And that, to me, needs to change.
absolutely. Absolutely. It drives me crazy when I'm walking around in spaces and I'm like, that's not accessible and that's not accessible. And like, even in new buildings, the business school I went to, their idea of, they wanted to make the building look fancy and cool. So at the one end, there was about, let's say, 4 steps to get from one section to another. And they were very long steps. So like they were maybe, 50 meters long and 4 steps up. And so their idea of making that accessible was to install a wheelchair ramp in the middle of the steps. So there's a bunch of like uneven stepping over the ramp. And it's like, that's not helpful for anyone. Like,
Yeah, that's definitely ignorance on their part, I would say. So you completed the Bachelor of Business at Laurier in
yes.
2018. You currently work in HR at OTMH, but just to start off, what made you choose business administration?
So from a very young age, I found business to be very, like, really fascinating. I think a big part of it was influence from my dad. I grew up watching shows like Dragon's Den. Like I watched it from season 1 and was pretty young when that show first came out. And just loved seeing how businesses could positively impact people's lives and how, the strategy behind it and all that kind of stuff. And so I went to business school. The nice thing about Laurier is that your first year of business school is pretty generic, and then you don't have to really choose what you want to specialize in until later in the program. And I was also really lucky in that I got accepted into the co-op program. So I was able to just sort of experiment in different industries and different jobs to see what types of things I liked doing. So I it's funny. The first human resources class I took, I absolutely hated. I just it seemed way too theoretical to me. And I was like, when am I ever going to use this? And then I took another human resources class and absolutely loved it. And what I really liked about human resources is how you can, I'm very much a people person. I'm an extrovert. And I like, the people element of human resources and being able to engage with people, but more importantly, how can myself as a human resources professional change policies and processes and set people up for success so that they can, help the business and so that they can reach their dreams.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's probably very rewarding to work with so many different cultures and races and just get
Yeah,
that multicultural, especially in Canada, right? Like it's
absolutely.
very, very cool. What do you enjoy most about working in HR at the hospital?
Huh. You know, the thing I like about my current job the most is I'm responsible for doing our orientation sessions for new hires. And I just love being able to welcome all the new employees to the organization and sort of teach them about how the organization works and get them set up for success on their first day. I love to be able to share my experience working at the organization and really motivate them and excite them for starting work.
Definitely. That's definitely would be fun. So when you were at Laurier, you co-founded Eye to Eye, which is a student organization, and originally it was aimed to, prevent stigmas for the blind community, but then you kind of, branched out to all disabilities. And I think the name is very clever. Can you tell me a little bit about that foundation that you started?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a bit of a funny story as to how Eye to Eye happened. Um, my first year of university, let's take it one step further back. So I experienced some pretty blatant discrimination while looking for a summer job the summer before starting university in a hiring process. And it really put me in a dark headspace, especially I had recently found out that my vision was getting worse and was really didn't have much faith in society and, how people with disabilities were treated. And I wanted to make a difference, but didn't really know how. And I wanted to be able to share people's stories. And I couldn't figure out the right way to do that. And, honestly, I was kind of scared to try and make a difference. Fast forward to, a month or two into my first year of university, I'm sitting in Laurier's dining hall eating some lunch, and this guy sits down beside me and he says, "Hi, my name's Tyreek," and Tyreek is an international student from Jamaica and has the typical Jamaican accent. And he's like, a friend of mine wants to start an organization, and I think you'd be great for it. Can I have your phone number? And I was like, well, cool things happen in universities. Facebook was founded on a university campus. I can't say no. Um, so, I gave him my cell phone number and completely forgot about my interaction with Tariq. About 3 weeks later, I get a phone call from him and he's like, yeah, so me and my friend, we're ready to start this organization. Will you come to her apartment to talk about it? And I was like, sure. And then after I hung up the phone, I'm like, this guy's going to kill me. Like, I'm going to some random apartment. I've never met this guy. Like, I don't know anything about this person. So I texted him and it was like, let's meet in a public place. So we did that. And so his friend, who's now also a very good friend of mine, Dana, she had a really good friend in elementary school who was blind, and she wanted to start a student club to sort of, spread more awareness about vision loss and things like that. And it was exactly what I was looking to do. I just, didn't do it because I was scared and didn't know what to do. And I jumped on the opportunity. I was like, let's do this. Let's start this club. And, Eye to Eye kind of came to be because we wanted the message to be, everyone has different perspectives and experiences, and we want people to be able to see eye to eye about their experiences and be open and accepting of each other. And, you know, we kind of intentionally use the word I because as you said, the club started out to be about vision loss. And then as we, you know, grew and more people brought their perspectives to the clubs, we realized that there was more stories to share and that there was more opportunity to promote inclusion on campus and try to do activities on our university's campus, like bringing in guest speakers, having dinners in the dark, you know, organizing sessions for university classes to really help promote inclusion at our university.
Wow, that's pretty good. I love the name. I think that's super clever, and that story's pretty funny. It's like, who are you again? Like,
Yeah, I told a good friend of mine before I went to the meeting with Tyreek, I was like, listen, if you don't see me at dinner, I've died. Phone the police.
very, very interesting. So you're also vice chairman at the CNIB Foundation Board of Directors. What kind of duties do you do with them?
So with the CNIB, it's primarily in an advisory capacity. So the CNIB, Canadian National Institute for the Blind, they provide services to empower people with vision loss to really achieve their maximum potential in society. So anything from guide dogs to helping people who can't afford technology that will help them, to give them that technology, training people how to use technology. And so my role is to help advise the organization as to how they can best use, you know, donor dollars to impact people, what programs are meaningful for people, and also helping connect, you know, my personal network with the organization so that, you know, for example, we've got a program called Come to Work where we connect blind and partially sighted individuals looking for work with employers. And, you know, I've helped to engage some employers to open up their doors to interview and hire people with vision loss, and just, you know, yeah, bringing my perspective and helping the organization achieve its goals.
Awesome, because my grandpa, he passed away about 10 years ago. He was blind. He had macular degeneration, and he
Okay.
did a lot of work with them. And it's amazing that I'm sure even you can relate that even though you don't have very much vision, I'm sure a lot of things you've gotten used to over the years. Like he moved old folks' homes, and within 3 days he knew where everything was because I think your other senses are very in tune, probably, I would imagine, right?
I try to have them be.
Yeah, and that's just it, is you you use what you have. There's no point in being upset about what you don't have. Taking advantage of the things you can do. And I think that's very motivating for a lot of people because it's hard. Like I could only imagine.
Yeah.
And so you're also co-chairman at Fighting Blindness Canada, and you took part in the Young Leaders Summit where you do speeches around, I think, North America, right? Not just Canada.
Yes. So I'll kind of clarify. So I was the co-chair of their Young Leaders program in I want to say 18. And then I'm also a spokesperson for Fighting Blindness Canada, where I you know, speak at different events and things.
Yeah, and you were on, I saw your interview with Global Vancouver. Just, it came up on Google. What was that experience like for you?
So funny story too about that experience. So I was there because Fighting Blindness Canada was previously called Foundation Fighting Blindness, and through an attempt to sort of rebrand and become more relevant to a lot larger group of people, before, you know, the organization was primarily focused on raising money for research to help with retina issues. But with sort of that name change, the focus became much more about raising money to help to raise money for any sight-saving research. And so I helped with sort of what did that look like? And then was one of the spokespeople as we launched that name change throughout the country. So we did the big announcement of the name change in Vancouver in front of the, I want to say it was called the Vancouver Board of Trade, and then did several media appearances over the next couple of days and things, including the interview you saw with Global News. And the funny part of the story is they, phoned me up and like, yeah, we'll have you come out to Vancouver for a couple of days. I was like, well, I've always wanted to go to Vancouver as a tourist. Can I fly out a few days early and just, be there for an extra couple of days? I'll pay for my own hotel room the few days early, like before you need me there. They're like, yeah, sure. Like we'll fly you out a few days early if you, cover your expenses for the, however many days early you go. So I got to, it was my first, I got to experience this city. I'd never been out to the west coast of Canada. But the day before all the announcements and the Global TV interview, I spent most of the day in Stanley Park, which is just a phenomenal place, and got quite the sunburn. It was a beautiful day. And so they made me wear makeup because I was so red, and I've never worn makeup in my life. So that was kind of a weird experience.
Oh man, sunburns. Yeah, that's a interesting little tidbit there. Makeup. Oh boy. That's pretty funny. I like that.
Yeah.
So I've got a little segment here called Rapid Fire that I do with my guests just to ask a few random questions. To start off, just for reference, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town called Tillsonburg.
And is that in Ontario?
Yeah, it's near London.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So who would you say is your favorite person from Ontario?
Probably my parents.
That's a good one.
Person.
That's all right. That's a good answer. I like that. What is your favorite thing to eat?
My favorite restaurant is a place in Kitchener, Ontario called Lancaster Smokehouse, and they just serve all kinds of smoked meat, and that's my favorite thing to eat.
Oh yes, barbecue all the way. Who is your favorite band or musician?
I'm gonna have to say my favorite song is Billy Joel Piano Man by Billy Joel.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And you said you had a guide dog. Tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, so I got my guide dog almost 6 years ago, and as I found out my vision was getting worse, and got used to that, I thought it would be a good opportunity to have something that would help me maintain my independence. So I researched different guide dog organizations. One thing most people probably don't know about guide dogs is that, all the organizations that raise and train guide dogs are charities. So, and there's, these charities all around the world. And there's only a few in Canada. And so there's very long wait lists for the Canadian ones. So I ended up choosing to go to one on Long Island in New York, because quite honestly, they were the first one that was able to get me a dog. And so I went there for 2 weeks to learn how to use a guide dog and get trained on that. And then after the 2 weeks was over, I hopped back in a plane and flew back to Canada and had my guide dog ever since.
Oh, wow. What's his name?
His name's Jake.
Oh, Jake and Jack. There you go.
Yeah. So I respond to either name.
I like that. And you seem to be a very driven and busy person. What do you like to do on your off time?
Watch TV, listen to music, the regular things. When I'm not on COVID-19 lockdown, spend time with friends and family. I actually this past winter joined a blind skiing program called Ski Hawks, So every weekend for the months of January, and February, I went to a different ski hill with other blind skiers. And basically the way blind skiing works is someone skis behind you and yells which way you need to turn as you're going down the hill. And it was a blast. I also participated in a blind sailing program. So I, go out on the water and drive a 20-foot boat, which is pretty fun. Hiking, camping. If I can be outdoors, I'm happy.
Awesome. Yeah. What other, do you follow any sports? And if so, which ones?
I'm not a huge sports guy. I will follow what's popular. So, I follow the Blue Jays, or not Blue Jays, basketball. What am I trying to say?
Raptors.
Raptors, thank you. Followed the Raptors last summer when they were doing so well. But don't follow a ton of sports now.
Yeah, and I could imagine it's probably hard, like, not to make a joke, but it's not like you'd be able to see it. So
Yeah, and a lot of the commentators, it depends if you're like, if you listen to a sports broadcast, the announcers on the radio do a much better job of describing things because, everyone can't see it on the radio. So, if I were to, do something like that, I'd, prefer a radio broadcaster because the people who announce things on TV don't give you enough details to actually know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's true. They're very visual oriented, which I think should change. I feel like on TV there should be more for hard of hearing, like, and vision impairment, because it's probably so hard. Like you say, your computer helps you with everything, and then you try to watch sports on TV, and you're like, okay, what is happening? I don't know.
Well, or even to watch, anything on TV. I don't own an actual TV, but I stream Netflix and things like that on my laptop, and not descriptive video is when what's happening visually on the TV screen gets described to you as you're watching the show, and so not all shows have descriptive video first of all, but some of the ones that do have descriptive video, it's done really badly. So there'll be like a 30-second period where there's just like music playing, and I have no idea what's going on the actual screen, and there's no like. I've heard the descriptive video narrations earlier, but they just decided not to describe what was going on for those 30 seconds. And it's like, come on.
Oh, geez, I could not imagine. It's probably so annoying.
Oh, yeah, it's frustrating as hell.
Just back into the questions here a little bit. What other advocacy and awareness causes or charities do you support?
CNIB and Fighting Blindness Canada are the two main ones, I would say. I've been involved with a few American charities helping them out with, speaking at events and things like that, but that's been very limited.
Yeah, for sure. What advice would you give to an individual or family member with a diagnosis such as yours?
I could talk for hours about that answer to that question. I think the biggest thing is, accept your disability, find ways to overcome it, and approach everything with confidence. Don't be afraid to share your disability with people. Be proud of who you are and wear the challenges you've went through with as a badge.
Yeah, I like that. It's me too personally, as someone also with a progressive disability. I think it's just, accept it and be as positive as you possibly can, because like you said in your one interview with Laurier, having a disability is not a tragedy. You can use it as, you can teach people, you can become stronger yourself. And I think sharing it, like, that's why I'm doing this blog, is to share people's stories, because I don't think there's enough of it. I think a lot of people are, oh, you're disabled, poor you. It's like, we're not looking for pity. We're looking to be normal.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's just it. And so during this uncertain time, it's a little harder to, support charities and raise awareness. But how do you feel we should all keep spreading the awareness message and also the message of inclusivity during this craziness?
You know what? In terms of inclusivity, I've seen a lot of, really good things happen. I'll take the CNIB, for example. So we did an initiative where every single person who was in sort of the database as a CNIB participant, so people with vision loss, partial sightedness, blindness, whatever, got contacted by the CNIB to see, how are you doing? Do you need any support? Things like that. And then CNIB put out a call for volunteers to help people who, maybe can't get groceries or live on their own and are feeling lonely and just want someone to talk to, once a week because they can't get out of their house. And to see, that, we actually have twice as many volunteers as people requesting help for something like that tells me that, there is a lot of compassion and good in this society. I think we've seen, some bad things come out of this pandemic, but I think we've also seen how compassionate and kind people can be when they actually take a step back and look at other people's perspectives.
Yeah, that sounds like a great initiative. That's good to hear that, because it is hard, let alone being disabled. It's hard for everybody, and I think just talking about it is the best way to do it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's a major thing for me, is, again, another reason why I'm doing this, is let somebody watch something. It's so hard to find out what to do. Like, we're lucky we have the technologies we do, but also being cooped up all the time just sucks.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Well, that's about all I have for you, Jack. Thank you so much for doing this. I really enjoyed our talk.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll send you the link out when I post it.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, you have yourself a good day.
Are you you're in Oakville then, eh?
Yes, correct.
Well, once all this stuff is over, I'd love to, meet you in person maybe one day. It's always nice to meet other people who are like-minded in this regard. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'll head over to the hospital and have a coffee with you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, awesome, Jack. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.